Good morning and welcome to Homepage, a public affairs feature of 93.7 K Country and Wind FM, 95.5, 92.5, and 107.9. I'm Bob Moody, and my guest today is Sergeant Paul Bloom. Mr. Bloom is Public Information Director in Marion County Sheriff's Office. Mr. Bloom, thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Bob.
I want to start off, first of all, we just dodged the bullet on a hurricane. I really kind of hesitate to say it that way because I don't want people to get complacent with, oh, it came close by, but it didn't do anything. But that's not absolutely true. It can still happen because we have a lot of time left.
That's exactly right, Bob. We do. Hurricane season runs through November 30th of this year. A lot of people don't realize that. It started, I believe it was May 20th, runs all the way through November 30th. So we don't want anybody letting their guard down. We're certainly not. And we encourage people to just stay vigilant, stay tuned, because anything can happen. Those of us that were here back in 2004, I believe it was, I think we had 3 of them back to back that came right through Marion County. So anything can happen, and being prepared is the best way.
And we're at peak of the season right now.
That's right. Yeah, this weather's warm. The waters are warm out there in the Gulf and the Atlantic right now. So these are conditions that are just ripe for these hurricanes.
So how did Marion County do with this passing through, skirting Marion County? How did we fare out?
So overall, as far as damage reports and things like that, we did excellent. I know we had a lot of people in place, electric crews and chainsaw crews, all kind of people that are set in place, ready to help should it get bad. But most of the reported power outages and that kind of thing were out far east portions of the county. Even some folks in the Silver Springs area may have seen some power outages that were quickly restored, and everything was done. These were some of the damage we saw was really similar to what we would see in a good summer thunderstorm. So we've even seen worse in a thunderstorm sometimes. So very fortunate.
Does the sheriff's office help coordinate with the power company to get these guys where they need to be to work on the power lines?
Yes, we do. So we have a very neat system there that with emergency management. If you ever get a chance to come take a tour, I'd suggest certainly set that up. Give us a call and come set up a tour to see the emergency management center. Very interesting. When you go inside, there's a room, about 200 chairs, and everybody's got a computer there, and there's screens up all over the room. And we have a website that we're using all together. So any kind of issues that are reported, whether that's coming in through the 911 system or just folks calling us, or just something we're driving, our deputies are seeing, or workers are out there seeing, those issues pop up on that screen for everybody in the room. And in that room, you have department heads from the electric companies, water, sewer, health department, school board, et cetera. So all the decision makers, they're right there. So we don't have to wait on somebody to make a decision as far as what to send, that kind of thing. But yes, those are our partners, and we're all in that together. The sheriff's office is over the emergency management, but it consists of everybody joining together. And so it's really a neat thing to see happening. It's basically a beehive of activity going on when you look in there and there's a storm rolling through, and these things are popping up. Hey, there's a tree down over here. There's power lines down over there. There's a water main issue over here. But they're being handled just in very rapid order because all the decision makers are there, and the teams are ready to deploy at a moment's notice.
Was that activated this time?
Yes, it was. So we do full and partial activation. So for the one day, we did have Tuesday night into Wednesday, we had full activation. That means everybody's there. And for the other days, we had partial activation. So not everybody was needed necessarily as we're watching this thing approach, because it took so long, Bob, to get here. That storm was at one time going 1 mile per hour. You could outwalk that storm. So we
were watching it here. So.
Yeah, everybody just, I don't know if we've ever sat and watched one for so long. Somebody said it was like being chased by a turtle, but it's still coming, but just slowly. Yes. But we did have a full activation for a while there during the brunt of the storm.
Yeah, well, that moving as slow as it was still moving to the west. So you had no idea. They kept telling us it was going to turn, but you didn't know that until it actually does.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, several days there that we spent just watching this thing to see if it made its move.
Yeah, the folks down there in South Florida can kind of see that coming, and you're assuming it's going to make this turn because everybody's telling you it's going to, but it's still, you got to take it serious, and all the what ifs that come to mind.
How do you handle maybe it's panic. People get wound up. They hear a hurricane is coming, especially when it gets up to a Cat 3, Cat 4, Cat 5 storm. A lot of people are on edge, and everybody wants to fill their car with gas, and the stores run out of water. How do you guys handle that with the public?
So what we do is try to give out just the accurate information. As we get this information, give that out so people have realistic expectations and they can make realistic plans. And we do know that. We do know the water is going to go quickly. Fuel lines are going to back up. But, folks were filling up with fuel a week ahead of this, and they had to get refueled again, so because it took so long to get here. And we know folks that have generators want to get the fuel ready for those generators should you need it and that kind of thing. Those are all good things to do. We know that's happening, and we plan for it. We talk with the state emergency management, and we've even escorted fuel trucks down here to Marion County before in years past just to make sure our folks have fuel, and those are on standby. And we did this time. We had fuel trucks on standby should we need that. And so we're not going to put our citizens in a bind where we're all out of fuel, we're all out of water, and we have semi-truckloads full of water that we're ready to disperse, and even the military MRE meals, should we need that, even if we lost power for weeks at a time, for instance. So those preparations are already in place, and so I know people still do, and I guess it'd be like me. I'm born and raised in Ocala, so I don't know anything about snow. So if I was up north somewhere and they told me there was an inch of snow coming, I would be that guy panicking down at the store, not knowing what to buy, and everybody'd be mad at me for trying to drive in that snow because I don't know what I'm doing. But we understand that too. We understand that Florida, we have a lot of folks that retire down here from up north and have not experienced this. Maybe this was their first one. Those of us that grew up with them, I can't even remember how many I've lived through, but so it affects people differently, and we understand that, and we bend and you flex with that, and you just. I try to tell people, hey, don't get mad when you're out there driving. Don't get mad when you're out there waiting in line to get fuel. Just understand that some people don't know, and some people are legitimately fearful.
We're all in this together.
Right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Now, you said earlier that the Sheriff's Department is over the Emergency Management Office or the building. Is that on the Sheriff's Office property? Where is that located? It
is. So it's located at 692 Northwest 30th Avenue, right there where the Sheriff's Office is, and then across the street from us is the county jail. But yeah, the Emergency Management Center is right there, and I'll tell you, it's one of the best in the state. The governor came down and saw that and said, and was really impressed when he saw it, I can tell you that. But it is very well designed. It's a hurricane-proof building, and again, all the necessary people can be in that building. We have sleeping quarters in there, so when we were there, I know in Irma, I lived down there for about 5 days. I think today, right now, is about my 10th or 11th day in a row of being at work, but I haven't been sleeping down there as much. So back sleeping in my own bed now. But yeah, we're set up, basically have our own house. We have food service there. And, in a side note to that, during this time, we had several local restaurants that donated food to all those working down there, not just but to the Emergency Management Center, and brought food by. It was way better than the sandwich that I was going to make, the food they brought by, so we were very grateful for that.
Yeah, I'm not good at making a sandwich. Dispatch is in a different location, or is that all in that same building?
So you're right. So the dispatch, the communication center, it is that building is attached to that same building, so it's protected as well, so that they can withstand a hurricane. We don't want to lose communications at all. Now, communications is not run by the Sheriff's Office. That's run by Marion County and the Board of County Commissioners. They run that, but they dispatch fire and they dispatch the law enforcement out of that same building. But yeah, we're all connected there.
When the Sheriff's Department, they put this emergency management office together, are there certain standards that the state of Florida require you to have in this building, or is it let's get together and figure out some neat things to have?
Right. No, there are things. They have a suggested way to do this,
a checklist.
And ours was built several years ago. And there's a way to build this, and what do you need, what you like to have in there, and understandably, some counties are not as fortunate as us. There's smaller counties, smaller tax base, and could not have something this big, dysfunctional, but. It's a great service to our citizens, because you live in a county where this is literally one of the best, if not the best, emergency management building and operation in existence in the state. And I think the one in Tallahassee is not even this nice. So it is very modern, very, very functional when it's running, and everybody's in there. It's just like I said, it's like a sewing machine.
Very up to date.
Very up to date. That's right.
Do you have a mobile command unit?
So we do. Yeah. So emergency management has a mobile command station. And really what we'll use that for in a situation like this is, say, if there was some damaged areas, some areas more heavily hit than others, and we're going to be there for a little while with our chainsaw crews, or bringing ice and food and helping people, medical crews, that kind of thing. We'll take that mobile command center out there, and we can do everything from that point. So all the commanders, kind of a miniaturized version of the Emergency Operations Center, but we can have decision makers out there in the trailer. It's a tractor trailer, semi trailer that has been converted, and very neat operation. We can do all kinds of good stuff in there. We use it throughout the year, though. We use that in conjunction with the fire service. For instance, we have somebody that maybe like an Alzheimer's patient, for instance, that walked off and wandered off, and we're out doing a search. So we team up with the fire department, and while we're out searching, the folks back there in the command center can be tracking our GPS and see where we are. So we're not covering the same ground twice necessarily, but a lot of neat stuff that we use that for year round.
That is very cool. So this command unit is not just for the storm or emergency. You use it in other situations where it's needed.
Oh, absolutely. At the school shooting there at Forest High School last year, it was there for that. So that was something where we can come to and command decisions can be made. And just kind of a mobile office, if so to speak.
Now, is part of the emergency management activated partial when something like that happens?
Yeah. So some of the necessary players that would be needed for whatever instance it is, we kind of can tailor that to say, well, we're only going to need this group, that group, and this group. So we may not need the fire service, for instance. We may not need the electrical crews. Depending on what the situation is, we can activate it partially to just tailor it to what we need. So we're not wasting anybody's time or resources.
For the storms, do you have a preparedness list?
We do. Sure do. So if you go
take a look at it?
Yes, we certainly encourage you to look at it, marionso.com, and go to our website. And if you click there under emergency management, there is a lengthy list of ways to prepare yourself, things you can that you would need in, say, like a hurricane preparedness kit. And it's some things that you won't even think about when you start reading this list. And I got to tell you, to be honest, I looked through this list last week, and I'm like, wow, that's a great idea. I didn't even think about that. So they're updating that list from time to time. And so some very good tips in there, and even some of the terminology. People hear what's a tropical storm warning versus a tropical storm watch. Stuff like that. Those questions are answered right there.
Yes, some of the terminology explained is very good.
That's right. So there's some good information, and then we update the information there. Say if we're using shelters, we'll have that information there. We also use it on social media as well. We put that information on social media. That information is there. You can find addresses, phone numbers, anything you need right there on our website to try to make it as convenient as we can. And then understand that when we lose power, if we have a bad storm, power goes out. And those, again, going back to 2004, I know folks are out of power for 3 or 4 weeks while they're trying to get that restored. Now you're not able to use the internet, not able to use your electrical equipment, tablets, and that kind of thing. Radio becomes very, very important. And I know even in Irma, we towards the end there, we're without power.
I spent the night here with Irma.
well, we're glad you did, because one thing anybody's looking forward during a hurricane is information, because you're out there in the dark, you don't know what's happening around you, and information, if you get that, tune in your radio, that you've got that, that's great to have. And that's what we want to put out, as much information as we can. Someone
needs information about shelters. How would they go about doing that? Can they access that information on your website?
Sure can. So marionso.com, that information would be up there. And then we're also, whenever we do open up a shelter, I put it out to all the news media. I put it out on social media. We make sure we put it out to as many areas as we can so everybody gets that message right away. And when we do open shelters, we don't do it last minute. I don't want you having to get there. We've only got 4 hours to get to the shelter. We put it out there. We're going to give you at least 24 hours before we think there's going to start seeing any kind of impacts before you can get in the shelter. So you got plenty of time. Again, no need to knock anybody over trying to get to the shelter, because there's plenty of time.
The shelters, who is responsible for that?
Well, we work in conjunction with a lot of our team members. So when we open a shelter, we need to have, at some of these shelters, our special needs shelters, we need to have medical personnel working there, because some people need electricity, because if they don't have electricity at their home, now their oxygen doesn't work. So their medical equipment, for instance. So some of the shelters, we're going to have medical teams from that. That involves folks from the hospitals. The health department joins in with us. Then we also have school officials, and they're working there helping with the shelter. Of course, law enforcement, we're there making sure the folks coming into the shelter, we're not letting anybody in there to say a sex offender, for instance. They're not allowed to be in there with the general population. So you have a whole team of people that it takes, really. So to say anybody that runs it falls under emergency management, yes, but I always say emergency management is a team.
Your shelters, are they certain ones that are specific in what they provide for, like a special needs? This shelter is for that. You're talking about someone that needs medical help. Would they go to a specific shelter, or can that be at any place?
That's right. So if you have special needs, meaning your life depends on you having medical equipment plugged into electricity, that's what we consider special needs. And those folks, yes, we will set aside a specific special needs shelter, and it's going to have an emergency generator backup. So the school's not going to lose power. We're going to have power there for you. We're going to have staff there, medical staff that's able to help and assist. And then we have general population shelters. That's for anybody. And then some of our general population shelters are set up to be pet friendly because nobody wants to leave the dog at home or the cat. So we can also bring a pet down there and just kind of tailor it to what folks need.
When you set up these shelters, just thinking about it, with us talking about it, I start to realize just how much work has to be done before you even think about opening the shelter. You have a storm approaching. Okay, how are we going to address this for Marion County? How is it going to affect Marion County? And just the cots to sleep on. It's got to be tons of them.
It's quite an undertaking.
Distributed everywhere.
We have several hundred cots that had to go out, and we have teams that are distributing those and getting those to the right places, and then organizing the teams that are going to help assist with picking up some of our special needs. Our special needs patients, some of them cannot drive. So we coordinate with the school board, and they use the school buses to go out, and some of those that are equipped to handle people in wheelchairs and things like that. So they go out and they help us. So it's quite an undertaking. It always is, and there's so much behind the scenes going on, and it is continual. Every couple hours we're looking at new information and adjusting what we're doing to fit that. And of course, this storm hitting on a Wednesday, I can tell you the Wednesday before, we were already in a lot of meetings deciding and teams were forming and things were happening already and getting in place. So it is a lot of planning. It is a lot goes into it, and it always goes smoothly. The more we do it, I guess, and the more we practice throughout the year as well, and kind of do some tabletop exercises. So when time does come, everybody's ready.
As much as I hate to have to talk about it, but it's one of those things that happens, and that is when a storm approaches, you have people that take advantage of others in need or in a panic, so to speak, needing something, and they charge a tremendous price for something that shouldn't have that way. Right. We're talking about gas prices, water. I have heard of different things happening, people just price gouging is the term I think that's being used on that. Even hotel rooms, things like that. Do you have any kind of service or someone that the public can report to and report these things happening?
Oh, absolutely. And you're right, Bob. That is unfortunate because people are going to take advantage of those in need. And instead of lending a hand, they're trying to take something out of your pocket. So it does happen, and the price gouging is a big thing. You can report that to us, but also something new. Ashley Moody, the Attorney General for the state of Florida, she has a new app out. So if you go up to the Ashley Moody's website, you can download this app, and it is directly linked to them, so you can report these kind of scams. And there's some great information that they've got out there, so you can click on this and ways to take photos of what you're seeing, the price tags and things like that, and get this reported. And I can tell you, if you're one of these people that are out there price gouging folks, the Attorney General of the state of Florida is behind this move to prosecute you. So it's not just us, and you will be certainly prosecuted. And she's not taking that lightly at all. We don't take it lightly because we're out there trying to help, and many citizens that don't have an obligation to help. Even this last time, I know we're out helping. Like I mentioned, folks donating food and trying to help us out. So when folks are out trying to do good, there's always going to be someone out trying to do bad, and just beware. These folks, these scammers. And we're going to start seeing them popping up now, Bob, with the damage that's happened in Bahamas. And we're already hearing of some of this because people have a big heart. And our folks always do here in Marion County, and they want to give and help out somehow. Hey, I've got more water than I need. How can I help? Maybe somebody in Bahamas needs it. Maybe they need some money, that kind of thing. So there are legitimate good charities out there that will do that. But for every one of those, there's also one that's not legitimate, somebody that's just going to call you. And typically it's going to be unsolicited, whether through an email or through a phone call, and you didn't ask for this email or phone call saying, hey, we need you to help the folks in the Bahamas or wherever, and can you donate $5? Can you donate $100? And you give them your credit card information thinking they may pose as the Red Cross, they may pose as United Way or whoever else. Every one of these companies that are legitimate, good charities, they have a legitimate website. And I say verify. And I teach crime prevention, and I tell folks all the time, we have the power to verify everything, even from our smartphones, to check a website, check a phone number. You just hang up on that person and say, you know what, I do want to help, but I'm going to call the Red Cross myself. I'm going to call whoever, United Way, whoever, whatever charity that you're claiming to be. I'm going to call them myself, and I'll make that donation. I'm going to go online and make that donation myself, because it is almost guaranteed that these guys are already trying this on even some of our folks here in Marion County. So I know they see it as an opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was going to say that your advice to someone that receives those calls or an email for a scam, that's the way to find out if it is legit.
That's right. So if I wanted to go buy something, or if I wanted to give something to somebody, I would go out and do that myself. I would drive myself to the store, or I would drive up to this person and hand them the money I wanted to hand them. When somebody comes unsolicited to me, that's always a scam. And I know everybody out there, I don't know how many I've gotten today to my sheriff's office work phone, scam phone calls, trying to tell me I need a new warranty from my car or
yes.
whatever. That goes on all the time, and these people are phishing. But unfortunately, we have people that bite on it, and you won't hear about it here in Marion County. Sometimes it'll make the news when it gets up to maybe 5, 8, 10,000. We had somebody recently with $104,000 they were scammed out of. That's when it makes the news, and a lot of times it goes unreported because they got scammed out of $100, $500, $1,000, and folks are embarrassed to report that. So we don't even know half of it, I think. But that is going to happen. Just if it's unsolicited, you didn't ask for it, as a rule of thumb, just hang up on them and say, look, I'm not going to give to your charity. I'm going to give to a charity, but I'm going to do it myself.
Do you have any relief efforts going on for the Bahamas?
So we've had a lot of folks asking about that. We right now, kind of what we're doing is we're looking at our sister counties around here, Volusia County and up the coast here into mm-hmm. Jacksonville and all. And we want to make sure these folks, from our standpoint, I'm saying as a sheriff's office, make sure they don't have any needs that we can help with. We're already looking at that and going to help them how we can. But we've had a lot of folks that want to help in this county. That's why I love living here. This is a great county, big heart. And right now, nothing from the sheriff's office that we can organize, and frankly, we just don't have the manpower and time because it's quite an operation. I've seen some folks that are doing some flights over there to deliver foods mm-hmm. and necessary items. That's great, and there will be some concerted efforts nationally, I think, to help these folks too, and I'd say get behind some of those efforts. But yeah, for us here at the sheriff's office, we have a difficult time to organize something that big on our own mm-hmm. and to get that over there. So. And a lot of it's kind of waiting and seeing what is needed and where is it needed the most, and how do we help them the best we can help them. So,
well, you have some good information that you can pass along to the public, and again, that website is
MarionSO.com.
We've almost spent our whole segment here on the storm, and I certainly want to have you back at another time. We have a lot of other topics. With the Sheriff's Department, especially with crime prevention and how that is stacking up here in Marion County. Just for a couple of minutes, are you seeing any increase in crime here in Marion County, or is it decreasing? What is the...
So we've seen, when you look at the numbers, you have seen a decrease in crime, but we're not relaxing with that. We have these guys, that's a crime that we know that's reported to us, mm-hmm. and sometimes it's not. So we're still going to fight hard, and we are, as far as manpower, and we're already working to get that back up. It's come up quite a bit just in the last 2 years. So we've beefed up manpower mm-hmm. and still working on even doing even more. But yeah, overall, what we're seeing, the real big thing that hits us is scams. A lot of scammers out there that are targeting a lot of our senior population, and unfortunately, I try to go out, and I'm a crime prevention practitioner through the Attorney General's office also, and I try to teach these classes wherever I can. Mm-hmm. How do we avoid this? How do we not become a victim? That's always out there, and our county is no different also than any other county as far as is there drugs? Yes. Are there people out drinking and driving? Unfortunately, yes. And we do what we can to educate these folks and to arrest these drug dealers and people with the drugs. But that's it with every county, it's with every place in the nation, mm-hmm. and you fight as best you can. But I think overall here in Marion County, I'd rather live here than most anywhere else. I don't even want to drive a few counties south. I think the crime rate is a significant jump, and versus where we are right here. So no, overall doing very, very good. and a good place to live, good place to raise your children.
How many officers do you have here in Marion County?
So in Marion County, we have about 800 employees at the Marion County. Now, not all of those are sworn officers. Some of those are civilian employees. But we have a few hundred officers that between our detention. We also have not just patrol officers, but we also have deputies that work in our detention or in jail, and then at our courthouse and in the civil. So that's another aspect of the sheriff's office that we're tasked with running. And then we also use, of course, some reserve deputies as well for patrol and stuff. So, but about 800 employees. So about a big corporation, really. One of the bigger employers here in Marion County, and it's a family. We always call it a family, and it really is.
How many bike officers do you have?
So motorcycle officers, yes, we have a motorcycle team. At any given time, 3 or 4 guys may be out there on motorcycles that you'll see working traffic. Sometimes, if it's pouring rain, they're going to be obviously in a car. They don't want to be on a motorcycle, but yeah, they're out there. And so I know traffic is a big concern with folks and the aggressive driving, and it's very dangerous. So the sheriff a couple of years ago directed that to happen and created this traffic unit to try to directly address that complaint from our citizens, that issue that our citizens are bringing up.
So overall, you say the sheriff's department's doing well, and your crime prevention. What are you doing with that?
I do as much as I can. So I have myself and one other person that are crime prevention practitioners, and we go around and we teach to various groups, whether that's church groups, civic groups, schools, wherever we can get in, whoever would invite us. Go in there and teach things regarding crime prevention, safety tips, just being safe out and about. Teaching about scams and frauds, teaching about internet safety, that kind of thing. So the education portion of it is a lot of it. And then we've started the DARE program with our school resource officers this year. So the DARE program is coming on big and strong to try to educate these children about the dangers of drugs. And to me, that's a prevention standpoint, and we can get that education in them and teach them the dangers of, for instance, heroin. And everybody knows what heroin is doing right now. It's one of the biggest killers. And I always said if we had a serial killer going around killing people with a knife every day, as often as people are dying from heroin, we would be very, very upset. We'd all be locking our doors. But his heroin is doing worse than that. So trying to get that education out there and let people know, don't go down that road.
You have an officer in every school?
We sure do. In some schools, we even have 2 officers. So it's a big operation, that school resource officer program, and those guys are doing a fantastic job. They love those kids, and the kids love them. So it's been good. We haven't always been in elementary schools. In years past, we were in high schools and some middle schools, but now we're even in elementary schools, which I think is great because these kids that may never have a chance to one-on-one with a police officer or a deputy sheriff, they get that chance now at their school on their own turf where they're comfortable, and it creates some good relationships, some good bonds, and these children grow up knowing, okay, well, this officer or this deputy is not that scary. He's friendly. He's here to help me, and creates that good relationship from an early age. So we've seen some good benefits from that already.
That's another show we could do.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. Sergeant Paul Bloom. Sergeant Bloom, thank you for being with us
My
here
pleasure,
on
Bob.
Homepage. We certainly appreciate you taking your time out through the day and bringing us some good information. Really appreciate that. My guest today, Sergeant Paul Bloom, Public Information Director at Marion County Sheriff's Office. Homepage is presented as a public affairs feature of 93.7 K Country and Wind FM 95.5, 92.5, and 107.9. We welcome your comments. Please email me. My email address is homepage@ncfmgroup.com. That's homepage@ncfmgroup.com. You can listen to Homepage by going to our websites, 937kcountry.com or windfm.com. I'm Bob Moody, hoping you will join us next Sunday for another edition of Homepage. 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 Homepage.